In this video, we're going to talk about the past progressive tense. Here we use the helping verb either was or were. For was, we use the subject I, she, he, it, or singular nouns. For were, you, we, they, and plural nouns. The form of the main verb that we use, similar to present progressive, so here we're going to use the verb plus ing, the ing form of the verb. Okay. The formula we use here is very similar to other formulas. Subject first, and we do use a helping verb in the affirmative for past progressive, main verb, and then the object. Okay, so a couple of examples. For example, I might say I, and my helping verb, the helping verb here is going to be was. I was teaching English. I was teaching English. If I use the subject she, I would also use the helping verb was. She was studying math. Okay. And just for a different subject, this time if I use the subject they, I'm going to use the helping verb were. But still I use the ing form of my main verb, so they were playing soccer. Okay. Negative. The negative formula looks very similar to what we have seen before. I start with my subject, then I have my helping verb, not to make it negative, the main verb, and then the object. So let's do an example. Let's say she. If I use she, I use was, and then not, my main verb, study, plus ing. She was not studying English. And here I can use the contraction, so I can say she wasn't. Okay, she wasn't studying. You can also do a contraction with were not. If I have were not, I can use the contraction weren't. For yes or no questions, I follow the similar pattern that we've seen before. Helping verb first, then subject, then main verb, and then object. And don't forget that question mark at the end. So let's look at an example. Was she studying English? And of course, my answer is going to be either yes or no, and I want to use the short form again here. Yes, she was, and I'll use that helping verb in my short answer, or no, she wasn't, and I'll use the contraction form in my short answer. And WH questions follow a similar pattern to the yes or no questions. We just add that WH word at the beginning, then the helping verb, then the subject, the main verb, and the object. So I might have something like, what was she studying? Okay, what was she studying? In this case, I don't need to use an object because my question word is going to give me the answer. And the answer, I'll use the object, she was studying English, as my information answer. Now let's talk about when we would use the past progressive. So I'll draw a timeline here. We'll use this timeline to help us understand. We've got the past, we've got now, and we've got the future. Past progressive actions, because it's progressive, it's an action in progress, an action that takes time or an action that's ongoing. I like to use that word, ongoing, or in progress. So let's say that here is my action. Started sometime in the past, it took some time, and then it finished also in the past. And then we might have a specific moment in time. So you can see here that my action was already happening at this specific moment. My action was already in progress when that moment happened. So I might say something like this. At 10 o'clock, I was watching TV. Okay? At a specific moment in the past, this is the action that was in progress. So that's one way that I use past progressive. A second way that I use past progressive is if I want to talk about two actions that were in progress in the past at the same time. So I might have this past action and I have this past action. You can see that those two actions were happening at about the same time. The word that I use when I want to talk about that is usually while. That's usually the connecting word that I want to use, but sometimes less common we might also use when, but most of the time we use while to connect two past actions ongoing at the same time. So to give you an example, while I was watching TV, you were studying. My action ongoing, your action ongoing. And those two things were happening at the same time in the past. The last way that we would use past progressive is to talk about an interrupted action. So again, we'll have a little timeline here with the past and now and the future. So here's my ongoing action. Then at some point in the past, another action stops my action. That's what interrupt means. Interrupt means to stop an action that's already in progress, an action that's already ongoing. Most of the time I use the word when to connect those two sentences together. Let me give you an example. I was cooking dinner when you called. So this is the action that's in progress. I was cooking dinner, and then in the middle of that action, you interrupted me. You stopped me with this other action. You'll notice that the action that's ongoing uses past progressive. The interruption action uses simple past tense. Let me just give you one more example. When the doorbell rang, I was taking a shower. Right? This is the action in progress. This is the action that interrupts. One last thing about past progressive is it is a progressive tense, right? Remember, that's in progress, ongoing, continuous. It takes time. So what does that mean? That means that we cannot use it with non-action verbs. Just like with present progressive, the same rules apply to past progressive. I cannot use past progressive with non-action verbs. Okay, that's it for past progressive tense.